Us older millennials sometimes gotta hunt for a little nostalgia to warm our old bones. And at times like these, I turn to one of my favorite titles from back in '07. We were in full swing of one of the best generations of gaming, the 360 and PS3. All of us who were on our way to becoming World War II nerds were glued to History Channel documentaries about airborne regiments and pilots that bought the Allies the chance to storm Normandy and the other beaches. And we had played plenty of games that saw us hitting those beaches as the Americans, the English, and even those feisty Canucks. But I don't think we've ever dropped into the occupied Italy the way that Medal of Honor Airborne just hucks you into the conflict. We all know that COD and Battlefield have won the fight between the once massively varied shooter franchises, but back in the early 2000s, I was absolutely hooked on the Medal of Honor series. Rising Sun, European Assault, the list is long and full of titles that may not graphically or mechanically have aged as well as their competition, but nonetheless shaped our gaming futures for the better. With more backwards compatible titles having FPS and resolution boosts than they used to on the new consoles, let's take a little stroll down memory lane with one of my favorite jaunts through Europe. The multiplayer had a short stretch of being active after release, but I feel like the extremely cinematic campaign was the highlight of Airborne. Ranging from southern Italy, behind enemy lines in pre-D-Day France, and even Norway and Germany in the mix, you get a great range of terrains and environments to keep the game interesting. With the classic MOH turret-style leaning and solid sound design, the urban missions and bunker fights were where this oldie really shines. Each mission started with your briefing, running through a slideshow on a transparency projector. This was a nice little immersive touch that would lead into loadout selection and then your combat drops themselves. The jumps do look and feel a little dated, but for '07, this was seriously peak cinematic combat. AA firing, your jump master gets blasted as the light turns green and you know it's time to boogie. I still remember being stuck on the bridge in Operation Varsity for weeks, but as a wise old gamer, my tactically brilliant brain totally made quick work of it. This game was difficult for the time, but the curve wasn't too harsh, and as you unlock challenges with your different weapons, you become a bit more of a force multiplier. It isn't a terribly long game, 6 missions, each lasting about an hour or so, but it's an extremely satisfying playthrough, and it's fun to rerun the missions with different kit to unlock all of your upgrades. The player takes the reins of one Private Travers, the silent but immensely durable airborne infantryman who specializes in crushing Nazis. The campaign has objective checkpoints and respawns, rather than putting you on the rails through an area and starting you back at the same point when you die. Completed objectives remain completed, but you have to make another combat drop in, and once again, fight your way to the next objective. Most of the campaign maps are semi-open, and you can complete the objectives in just about any order. While some are more useful to go after first, there's a fair bit of freedom in tackling each operation. On this most recent playthrough, since it's been quite some time since I've had my hands on this, I did feel like it found some routes and options for engagements I hadn't caught before. But the real play value comes from the solid gunplay and cinematic as hell for 2007 gameplay experience. The environments also feel pretty believable in most of the missions. That era of gaming had some really weird scaling going on to comply with the hardware limitations, and in Airborne, it suffers like everything else from that time, but they handled it particularly well. The final mission does a perfect job of dropping you over a city totally engulfed by war. The planes being torn to shreds and the survivors of your unit are scrambling to make it out of the mangled doors or a fuselage breach. Tracers are whizzing by and you plummet a little faster than you're used to, but your chute snaps late, catches you, and you start staring towards the smoke. This whole mission is one big meat grinder of a close quarters and mid-range running gunfight as the remnants of the Nazi air defense swing away at the Allied assault. Yeah, maybe they embellished a little on the size of the tower, but damn it, it makes for an awesome cap-off to this title. I died a fair bit because I was being really aggressive in the hallway fights, but there's so many options for fighting your way into the flak tower that it isn't even frustrating, because each spawn can basically be a fresh run on a new route through it, and you even pick out more scenery each time. On top of the normal progression of complete a mission to unlock the next, you can find challenge drops, which are more difficult landing points for you upon parachuting in, and could also complete the marksman challenges for the various weapons in the campaign. Some guns unlock extended magazines, and others get compensators or scopes, so that by the final missions you can have a loadout that perfectly suits your playstyle.
Convoy's here!
If you happen to miss this classic when it dropped, I most definitely recommend you give it a whirl. Game Pass members can get it through EA Play, and if you have a disc drive, you can snag it super cheap online. It doesn't live on my hard drive, but it's definitely fun to pick up for a couple of hours every few years. Thanks for watching, don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll be back with more.